Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Monday, April 26, 2021. Hope your day and your week is off to a great start. It's a big one. It's a big week. It's draft week, baby. It is draft week. It is here. It is exciting. This is Morning Joey. I'm your host, Joey Molinaro. I'm very, very pumped about the draft. We got Mike Renner from Pro Football Focus coming up at 9:30. He's going to join us to preview his last thoughts on the draft, his mock drafts. Check out my draft setup too, by the way. I look like I could be on an actual show with the helmets behind me. I added Rich Eisen, got him yesterday from the folks' house. He signed that picture for me back in like 2004, 2005, and now we're buddies, and now I know him, so that's cool. And so I throw him back up there. So now it's like fully looking like I'm like a draft analyst, like reporter, because I got white shelves, I got helmets that are signed, I got pictures that are signed. You know, I told you that I was going to have the full thing decorated. Not fully decorated, I know that, but add one thing at a time, all right? Rich Eisen back there, so shout out to him. And shout out because it's draft week, NFL, the full focus. For those watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe, doing a giveaway on there. That will end tonight. So subscribe, send me a screenshot on Twitter or Instagram of your subscription. You'll be entered to win free merch. If you want some merchandise, if you want a Cup of Joey mug, that is below to buy as well. Juju One Last Ride shirt with him and Big Ben. Those are selling hot as well. And then the Barstool Indy merch for the 500 is down there. So all those links in the description on YouTube to buy below. Good morning to all those watching on YouTube or on Twitter as well. Very, very excited. Like I said, we're going to talk all things NFL draft with Mike Renner from Pro Football Focus coming up at 9:30. Going to pick his brain a lot on the Steelers. And speaking of the Steelers, I'm going to have first round show. Of course, we have every year. Barstool does it. Looking forward to it on Thursday night for the first round. But then on Friday night for the second and third round, I'm going to do a Steelers-centric one myself. So for my Steelers folks, for my Steelers fans, or people who are just an NFL draft fan who are a fan of me who want to hop on, I'm going to have Steelers guests. We're going to be covering their draft or their pick on Thursday night, their picks coming up on Friday night and Saturday. And just have a good time, have a good little Friday night. So you'll be able to pop open a cold one or whatever you want to drink and join us on Friday night. It'll be a lot of fun. So looking forward to that. We'll go live about 7:30 for a Steelers-centric draft show on Friday night. So big week ahead, big week coming up. I mean, it feels like yesterday and Saturday when I was looking ahead to this week, it feels like when you are in grade school or high school or college and you know that you have like Thanksgiving coming up on Thursday and Friday, so Thanksgiving breaks coming Thursday and Friday. So it really feels like a short week. Like going into this week, I was just thrilled because it's like it's a short week, baby. We got the draft first round on Thursday night. We got draft Friday night as well, one of the best weekends of the year. So you get to Wednesday and then you wake up on Thursday and it's like we're on break. It's like we're on Thanksgiving break, man. You feel the energy, you feel the excitement. You got the first round to look forward to that night. Everything's buzzing. The rumors are going. Who's going to go where besides the first two? We're going to talk about all that with Mike Renner. Again, 9:30 from Pro Football Focus. My guy went to Notre Dame, graduated in 2012, so very excited about that. It's just a good day, man. Sun's shining in downtown Indianapolis. It's going to be like a high of like 78 later today. I'm feeling good. I'm excited. The Steelers have a good spot that they're in. I think they're going to be able to grab a really, really solid player who's going to be a plug-and-play guy and come in and help right away. So I'm pumped, man. It's one of my favorite weeks of the year. It's one of my favorite weekends of the year. And I hope that you're along for the ride because we got a lot of good stuff. I am not only going to have Mike Renner today, but I got a few other guests lined up, NFL draft-centric, leading up to it as well. So if you're a fan of the draft, if you're a fan of the NFL, and I know you are because who isn't, then you're in for a good week, and we're going to have fun together. I tweeted about it this morning about how, we used to really get up at like 5:30 or 6 a.m., go sit in class all day, on like a Wednesday, and then go out to football practice afterwards and have, an assistant coach be on our ass because we're lacking energy. And I said that because last night I had a dream, but it felt like a nightmare. A dream that I was back in school for whatever reason, and I had to go to practice every day after school. And I could feel in the dream, it was like a lucid dream to where I could feel how tired I was in the dream. I could feel that 6th or 7th period dragging ass and being like, oh my God, I got to go to practice too after this. Like I am about to I'm doing one of these in 7th period. Doing one of those in 7th period. It's so warm in the classroom. And then I got to get up and get going to get in the right mindset to go to practice when it's like 79 degrees, but the humidity feels like it's like 87. Probably even hotter than that. And I just ate Papa John's pizza for lunch. Now that's probably on me, that part. But at the same time, I still got to go to practice for 3 hours after this. And then after that, I got to work on a group project. And then I'm not going to get home until 9:30. And then I got to get up again at 5:30 in the morning again. I could feel all of that in this dream. I could feel the stress of going into the week and making sure that you had all your pads and everything and you were good to go put them back in your locker. And then you had your practice jersey. You didn't forget that. And then you go back out there and you have lunch and you're feeling all right. And you have lunch and it gets into 6th or 7th period and that lunch starts to settle in. And you're like, oh my God. All I want to do is just lay my head down on a pillow or this book bag right in front of me, but I can't. And I have practice after this for 4 hours. I'm going to die. How did you do it, man? That shit is crazy. That is just absolutely crazy that we did that on a regular basis. And it's not just football. It's any sport, any activity. My sister was in show choir and she would have show choir practices after school or theater practices or rehearsals after school for 4 hours. And then she'd have to work on, again, a little group thing. And then she wouldn't get home until 9:30 or 10 o'clock. And she had to wake up again and do it all over again. Whew. That is taxing right there. That is absolutely taxing. And, it's you miss those days a little bit. I'm sure there's people in the comments on that tweet that were like, oh, I'd do anything to go back to that. And I hear you to a certain extent, but at the same time, man, mentally, I think mentally you'd be like, oh man, that would be nice. Cause I just go back to being a young kid. I don't have many responsibilities. I just, I'm around my friends and I go out to practice and yeah, I may be tired, but I'm having fun. But it's if you really put yourself in that moment and then physically you're like, man, if I had to do that, if I had to do that right now, no way. No way. And a lot of people, a few people were coaches, obviously, who are commenting back and you're like, yep, and that assistant coach got up at 5 a.m. and he taught 7 classes and he still brought the passion and the energy. I'm like, all right. First of all, 2 totally different things. All right, because when you are the teacher, whether it be substitute or the regular teacher, you make the rules. If you want to let some kids sleep in the back, that's on you. You let them sleep in the back. If you want to wrap up class 10 minutes early and give everybody a little bit of a breather, that's your call to make. And then when you go out to the football field, when you go out to the soccer field or whatever it is, and you go out to practice, you're not the one doing all the work. It's really easy to stand on the sideline and blow your whistle and be like, yeah. When you're not the one doing pursuit drills, sprinting back and forth. So, yeah, I know that a lot of those coaches were teachers and a lot of them had to get up early too. And they had to be through classes as well. And then yada, yada, yada. But a lot of them didn't. And even the ones who did, it's a totally different circumstance than when you're not throwing on the pads and the helmet. And you're not out there in the heat running around in those. And you're not doing pursuit drill. And you're not doing down and backs. And you're not doing, going from drill to drill to drill. You get to have fun and hold a play pad and sit there and just be like, bah, 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 yeah. Yeah, that sounds like fun. I'd trade that. Here, coach, throw on this helmet. Throw on these shoulder pads. Sorry for my lack of energy. Here, let's trade places a little bit. Now get on your ass. Morning, guys. Morning, Andrew. Morning, Austin. Yeah, thank you. That means a lot, man. Those guys are great. Looking forward to their new office. And I was on Redline Radio last week, and then I'm on the Dog Walk Draft today. I'm on the Dog Walk Draft today, so go check that out. Happy Monday, Chris. Thanks for being here, man. Oh, wow. Nice call, Charles. Derby week. That's very exciting. I love that. That's actually how I got into gambling. It was like 3 or 4 years ago. And my brother-in-law, my at the time future brother-in-law, now current brother-in-law, he was like, "Hey, there's this horse betting app. You should check it out, and you get, a free $25. Good Lord, burpee boy! You get a free $25 bet if you download it." And so he sent it to me. I was like, "All right, cool, $25. I'll throw some down on the Derby." It was the one where it had the controversial ending. Yeah, so I think it was 2019. It was rainy. It was really shitty weather, and I put down, I think, $10 or $15 on the long shot that ended up winning. The one that was like 65-1. Forget its name, but I was barely even paying attention to it, and then I checked my account on there, and it was like, I had hit big. So I was like, holy shit, this is incredible. Beginner's luck. I'm sorry, man. I'll get it up there. I promise. Thanks, Hunter. But yeah, dude, it's like that's what got me is in my dream. I'm sitting there. I'm like, man, I could feel it because I could feel that I was still like this current state in this age right now, but I was going back to that time when I would do that, and I was just exhausted, man. And then I woke up and I was thinking about it, and I was like, dude, so many of these guys who like had a pretty cushy like teacher job or like, gym job or whatever, that would go up to the football practice and couldn't wait till 3:00 to get out there and now setting up the cones and getting shitty at the kids, at the sophomores and everything like that. Like, they live for this, dude. They absolutely live for this because they're with their friends and they get to laugh and yell at a bunch of high school kids. And afterwards, they get to go to the local pub and they get to drink beer and bullshit about the team and like game plan for the week and everything. But really, it's just because they're away from their wife and their kids and they get to go back. Like, this is fun for them. This is their fun. When you're a high school kid, going to school at the time is not fun. You got to sit through class. You're not in class with all your buddies. Like, you're tired. You wake up early every single day. You got to do homework. Blah 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 blah. Then you got to go out and exert all this physical effort during practice. So I get it to a certain extent, and I appreciate that those coaches and those teachers and that they do get up early and they do have a lot of energy. That's what keeps us going. I have a lot of fond memories with a lot of coaches that are like that. But at the same time, spare me the like, well, they have to do it too, because it's totally different. It's totally different, man. Because during on like a Thursday practice when you're prepping for a high school game and everything and you're a teacher, like, just make that your day where you're just making it kind of a study hall or like group work. And then you're just, cooling it for 40 minutes of the class and you cut it a little bit early and then you get out there and you're ready to go, man. You're ready for 3 hours of nothing but, we used to call it Big Ben. That was like our 2-minute drill because you're on the clock. You're running through the whole entire thing. You're bringing all the energy and you're ready to go because tomorrow's game day. So it's just totally different. Like I said, coach, if they're going to make it that way, then, 1 day or 2 days out of the week, then the coaches got to throw on the pads too, and they got to come out there. Then maybe they'd know how, maybe they'd be on our side a little bit more. I'm hoping, man. I'm hoping Soldier Flame. I've been talking with the powers that be. And I, can't say anything or don't really know for certain, but I hope that sooner rather than later. Sooner rather than later, my friends. All right, here's what's on your feed this morning. Peter King dropped his Monday morning or football morning in America. Thought it was Monday morning quarterback. That's not what it is anymore. Dropped his football morning in America this morning. It was his one and only mock drafts. He takes a lot of pride in that. He does one mock draft and only one mock draft, and he knows he's not going to be right, and yada, yada, yada. So he dropped that this morning. But leading off the story is that he said that he wouldn't be surprised if Julio Jones gets traded by draft night. He's a big cap hit for Atlanta, and he's getting up there. He's 32. He's been in the league for 11 years. Battles injury a lot. And so he said that he wouldn't be surprised if you see that happen. So Julio Jones could be on the move. A couple of the teams that he mentioned, not great for me. Baltimore and Tennessee. Now, Tennessee, with Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, and Julio Jones, when healthy, that would be a sight to see. That would be very scary. My guy Taylor Lewan and Will Compton down there busting with the boys. That'd be big time for them. Another tool for Ryan Tannehill. I have something going off in the background. I don't know what it is. Hey, Ryan? That coffee thing is going off. Could you snag it? The outlet. Sorry. And then Baltimore, they're kind of a shit show for wide receivers. It's kind of where wide receivers go to die, but still, playing him twice a year if he's healthy, another weapon for Lamar, all that kind of stuff. So he's saying he could be traded by draft night, and the two teams that he could be traded to, it's looking like maybe a Baltimore and Tennessee. So again, Tennessee with A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, and Derrick Henry, yikes. And then Baltimore, you just hate to see it, hate anything good for them to happen. Anybody that helps them become better in any way, you hate to see it go to Baltimore, from my point of view at least. So, like I said, his one and only mock draft. I'll run through it here for you. Not too many big surprises. Trevor Lawrence, number 1, Zach Wilson, 2. He does say Mac Jones at 3, and that's another one of the reports, is that it's apparently down to Mac Jones and Trey Lance. So Justin Fields, unless there's a lot of smoke screens going on for San Fran, it's Mac Jones and Trey Lance that they're deciding between, and they're going to make one of those happen. But Peter King said it's going to be Mac Jones, has Atlanta taking Kyle Pitts, has Cincinnati taking Jamar Chase, because he laid out an approach, King laid out an approach that I tend to agree with, and I like it for the Steelers. He says that, look, if you're going to go with Chase, if you're Cincinnati, the reason you're doing it is because the drop-off after wideout, once you get past the top 3 or 4, is so far greater than the drop-off from the 3rd best offensive lineman to the 6th or 7th best offensive lineman. So in this case, he has the Bengals taking Jamar Chase with the 5th pick. He has them taking Liam Eichenberg from Notre Dame with the 38th pick in the 2nd round. And then he has them taking Wyatt Davis, a guard from Ohio State, in the 3rd round. That's the same kind of mindset that I have with the Steelers that we'll get to, and I'll explain a little bit more. And then he has here's a little bit of a surprise. He has the Miami Dolphins at 6 taking Jalen Waddle, which is wild. He says that Waddle started 9 games in 3 years at Alabama, and he's projecting him 6th overall. So obviously a lot of depth that he had to kind of get through and fight through at Alabama. Then he was a star, and then he got hurt. So he has the Dolphins getting 201 of his guys and a playmaker, Jalen Waddle. He has Penei Sewell going to the Lions at 7, and then he has Justin Fields at 8 to Carolina. So because Carolina hasn't re-upped with Sam Darnold on his 5th-year option yet, they haven't exercised that. People are saying that if Justin Fields is there, Peter King included, if Justin Fields is there, then Carolina's going to take him. A reminder that if Justin Fields falls, or the Steelers trade up to him, or either one, if they somehow take Justin Fields on Thursday, I will get my hair cut and I will get it cut into a mohawk that makes me look like a rooster. I said it. I meant it. You hold me to it. I'll hold myself to it. If it happens, that'll happen. Number 9, then he has the Broncos taking Trey Lance. So 49ers pass on Lance. They go with Mac Jones, and then he has Denver taking him. 10, Patrick Surtain. 11, Micah Parsons. Philadelphia, J.C. Horn. Los Angeles, Rashawn Slater. Devontae Smith going to New England at 15, which is interesting because, Bill Belichick, it's one of the positions that he's just really struggled to draft. New England's really struggled to draft wide receivers. That's like Pittsburgh with corners, it's just like one of those weak spots they cannot figure out. Let's see. Yeah, Chicago, Rashad Bateman. So they have Rashad Bateman from Minnesota going up with Allen Robinson and Darnell Mooney and Anthony Miller. Yeah. So then he has the Colts trading back. He has the Colts taking Samuel Cosmi from Texas, the tackle. Has them trading back with Cleveland from 21 to 26. So, the Colts have to trade back. They'll get more picks. I told you that they're not going to take a wide receiver. We've seen Kadarius Toney. We've seen all these kind of people there. They're not going to take a wide receiver in the first round. If anything, they're going to trade back out of it, or they're going to take up front. It's just what they're going to do. And then Peter King at 24 has the Steelers staying put, and he has them drafting Najee Harris, the running back out of Alabama. And like I was talking about in his reasoning with the Bengals taking Jamar Chase, that's the same reasoning that I am perfectly okay with the Steelers taking Najee Harris at 24. Look, if you have the best running back on the draft board that's available at 24, and the other top 4 or 5 offensive linemen are already off the board, take the best running back and Najee Harris. And then they have 3 picks in the top 87. And then with your next 2 picks, just like he had it laid out with Cincinnati, get the best offensive lineman available. If they draft Zaven Collins there, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't hate that either. Zaven Collins and Devin Bush paired up together, I would be a big fan of that. But for all these people out there that are freaking out about taking a running back in the first round, or you can't do that, and you have to build the offensive line. So you're telling me that with your first pick, you want to take the 5th best offensive lineman rather than taking the the best overall running back in the draft, and then having the ability to get the 6th, 7th, 8th top offensive lineman in the 2nd or 3rd round. I like that pairing a lot better. I like that pairing a lot better than the opposite, taking the 5th or 6th best offensive lineman with your first pick and then waiting on later to get another guy that's just going to end up being like James Conner. James Conner, great dude, solid NFL player, but we've seen he's not changing the game. All right, he's not doing it in a dynamic way like that. So that's my reasoning, and I'll continue to hit on it time and time again until the NFL draft comes about. Yeah, and so I'll talk about it with Mike Renner coming up here at 9:30. He's going to hop on. Charles, I don't see that. Because they just signed Ty to a 1-year deal. They got Michael Pittman. They feel good about Zach Pascal. The injury history, the age, the cost, that doesn't add up to me for Chris Ballard to go get a guy like Julio Jones. Chris doesn't see the Mac Jones hype. If he goes top 10, that will go down as a bad pick. Yeah, but he had virtually the same season. Maybe a little bit worse, but essentially the same season as Joe Burrow did last year when he was coming out. And Joe Burrow was the number 1 overall pick, and everybody was cool with it, myself included, obviously. I get what you're saying in a way, Chris, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, I feel like Mac Jones is kind of unfairly being graded and talked about because – that picture of him with his shirt off, and because the other draft prospects are fast and electric, and Zach Wilson throws behind his back and does all this kind of shit. So I see what you're saying a little bit, but yeah. From Not Drew, I don't want the Steelers to take a tier 2 or 3 quarterback. You already have those type of guys on the roster. I agree completely, dude. I don't want them, even if it's the 3rd or the 4th round, to take some flyer on if a Kyle Trask is there or whoever. It just feels like a total waste of a pick. You already have Mason Rudolph as your backup quarterback. You already have Josh Dobbs signed to an extension, who essentially is that. You already have Dwayne Haskins, that's a project that is in your quarterback room. There's no need to waste a 3rd or 4th round pick on some guy that you're like, we'll bring him in and we'll develop him. Obviously, you haven't developed any of those guys yet enough to be the starter to where you keep, going out and bringing back Big Ben. It's a waste of a pick. Stack up on an offensive lineman, take a linebacker for depth. Take a flyer on a corner in the 3rd or 4th round like you did with Cam Sutton at that point. But don't give me this quarterback in the 4th round where you're trying to take a flyer on him and come in and develop him, because it's just not going to happen. So if the Steelers do that on Friday, Saturday, I will not be happy. I agree with you there, Drew. They're setting themselves up. they're bringing back Big Ben. They're looking like they're going to take Najee Harris with the first pick on Thursday if he's there. Then if that's the case, then you're setting up yourself to try to make everything possible to get it done next year and possibly the year after. And wasting a pick on the third round on a guy like Kyle Trask, it doesn't add up to that. I understand what you're saying about taking the best running back that late in the first, but linemen are the safest bet. I wouldn't be mad either way, to be honest, but I'm the same way. If they feel really good about a Tevin Jenkins or a Liam Eichenberg, and he'll be a plug-and-play guy that'll come in and be on your line for the next 10 years, that's fine. Trust me, these are mutually exclusive things. It's not me being cool with them taking Najee Harris saying, I don't want to draft an offensive lineman. I totally understand that drafting an offensive line and building up front like the Colts have done, like the Steelers did when they brought in, David DeCastro and Marquise Pouncey, and they really invested in an offensive line. I understand how important that is. But what I'm saying is if these reports are true and they feel that good about Najee Harris and that's what's going to happen, then the reasoning behind it is not that crazy. You're drafting 24, get the best overall running back that's there, and then stack up on offensive linemen down the road, guys who come in, give you depth, and play. Because there's mock drafts out there, and I'll talk to Mike Renner about this here shortly, but there's mock drafts out there that have guys like Liam Eichenberg and guys like Landon Dickerson fall into the second round. You got Kevin Dotson last year from Louisiana Lafayette in the fourth round. He came in, he was your best offensive lineman last year. So I trust their ability to be able to get an offensive lineman in the second to the fifth round and turn him into a player more than I trust them taking a running back in the second to the fifth round and having them develop into the next Le'Veon Bell like how he was when he was there for us. I feel like it's more likely that if they go that route, then they'll have another guy that's just, a James Conner or a Benny Snell. Fine players, but not anybody who you're really going to have to game plan for and going to be dynamic. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, Charles. I mean, that's what it's going to be for the Colts. If they're not taking an offensive lineman or trading down, then they're going to take an edge. That's Chris Ballard's mindset. That's how he drafts. That's his belief on building a team, and they're not going to stray away from it. It's certainly not going to be a wide receiver. I don't know, Adam. I'll have to ask Mike about that. I mean, the Browns are pretty loaded, man. Maybe linebacker or secondary depth. Or playmakers there, I would say. First thing that came to mind. Pretty good up front. Line is super good. Got a lot of playmakers on offense. So first thing that would come to my mind, I would have to say, corner, safety, or linebacker for Cleveland. And obviously I don't follow them as closely as I do the Steelers or the Colts, but that's where I would generally say that they were going to go. Just off the top when I'm thinking about it. So, God, I'm excited, man. It feels good. Get up this morning. We're getting close. If you need any more of a draft coverage fix, you're going to have it this week, but you need to subscribe to Going Deep on YouTube or anywhere you get your podcasts. That's the NFL podcast with me, Stephen Che, and Willie Colon. I mean, we talked with Matt Miller from ESPN. We had Daniel Jeremiah, the lead draft analyst, last week on the show. I mean, you're fixing for some NFL draft talk and coverage. All the answers are there, so you need to go check that out. Was the Orlando Brown trade good for KC or Baltimore? Who will the Ravens think at 27? Yeah, that was pretty surprising, man. I mean, Baltimore and KFC, two of the top dogs in the AFC, and Baltimore sends one of their, top offensive linemen out there to protect Patrick Mahomes. So that was pretty wild. I wasn't expecting that. But we got the man that we need to talk to right here, Mike Renner, Pro Football Focus. Mike, what's up, man? Good morning.
What's up, Joey? Good to see you, my man.
Good to see you too. It's been a little over a year. You were in Indy, and we were hanging at the Combine in 2020 before everything got rocked. So it's good to see you. You have the short hair now, and now I have the long hair.
We're trading places here.
Yeah.
I just got to tell you, it's a grind once it gets long. Like the showers, that's why I quit. There's like 10, 15-minute showers just to get that shit clean. So cut it real short now.
Get it clean and getting it dry. Yeah, no, it was a pain in the ass for sure. All right, lead draft analyst for Pro Football Focus, Mike Renner. How are we feeling, man? We're getting down to the nitty gritty here. We're getting down to the final moments. What's the last bit of draft prep and stuff on your end that you got to do leading up to Thursday and this weekend?
Just try to memorize shit for the shows we're doing. Is basically what I'm doing this week. Is trying to do. Because we got live shows Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the whole time. And so I'm going to have a lot to talk about at that point. But it is weird. I woke up this morning and I was like, this week is literally my entire job. I do the draft. And so my whole job revolves around 1 week's worth of just like things happening, which is odd, but it's kind of awesome in a way.
Yeah. All right. So let's start with Thursday in the first round. Who are you? Everybody knows, everybody's thinking at least, that it's going to be mock Lawrence Wilson. Then we get to 3.
Yeah.
And now this is the biggest, topic that everybody's talking about leading up to Thursday. And the report came out today that it's Mac Jones or Trey Lance. Where do you land and why?
I think it's going to be Trey Lance. Now, I thought when a trade first happened, I thought it'd be Justin Fields, but I just cannot fathom giving up 3 first-round picks for Mac Jones. Fine quarterback, don't get me wrong. But it's just look at the elite quarterbacks around the NFL, and they just have more physical talent than Mac Jones. They look like Trey Lance. They don't look like Mac Jones, the guys who are really playing MVP level year in and year out. Now there's the outliers like Drew Brees is still playing obviously at a high level with not a ton of arm talent. But if you want to really transform your offense and transform your team, it's the guys with the cannons, the guys that can make plays outside the pocket, the guys that can run. And none of that is Mac Jones, and all of that's Trey Lance. And so I think if you're going to buy into one of those guys at 3, I just think you'd be crazy to have it be Mac Jones over Trey Lance.
So do you feel like these are like smoke screens being sent out by San Fran then? Because I feel like you're one of the only people that said Trey Lance. Everywhere I look, it's Mac Jones.
That's the thing. So the people inside San Francisco, outside of obviously Kyle Shanahan, he hasn't even told anyone. He's making the decision, I believe, himself, and it's not. So the smoke screens are just people that know Shanahan trying to pick his brain and what he would want. And that leans Mac Jones because obviously the offense he ran at Alabama, very similar conceptually what he did, the throws he was making to what Kyle Shanahan's offense has been for the 49ers. But that's also because the quarterbacks Kyle Shanahan's had have also looked like Mac Jones and that Jimmy Garoppolo, Matt Ryan, even going back to Matt Schaub, guys who just aren't these most physically talented. But I think the beauty of Shanahan is that he knows offense in and out. And he made Robert Griffin look like a stud and completely in a different type of offense. They did a lot of different stuff there back in Washington than they ever did with Matt Ryan, obviously, because Robert Griffin could run.
Do you feel like there's a little bit of unfairness towards Mac Jones, though? Because, essentially, you put the numbers up side by side. He had the same season that Joe Burrow did, and Burrow was kind of the unquestioned number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, I get why there's that. The statistics are off the charts, and he operated that offense higher than anyone's operated a college offense before. But it's also what we're doing is projecting forward. And you look at throw for throw and basically what he was asked to do in that offense, and it's just not a lot difficult, not a lot of difficult stuff. And now he obviously plays with timing really well, is really good in the pocket, fairly accurate with the football underneath intermediate range, but a lot of guys in that offense, if they were thrown at that offense, would be putting up monster numbers. You kind of have to project the difficulty of it, whereas Burrow's making these throws down the field to tight windows and hitting guys who are, I think he had 3 times as many throws into tight windows per our charting than Mac Jones did this past season, which is just, that's a different, that you feel more confident about that guy because you're going to have to hit those in the NFL. That's a big thing to do, whereas Mac Jones just hitting these crossing routes that are, wide open. Yeah. That really, it's okay, that's nice, but how many times are you going to be able to do that in the NFL?
Sure. All right, let's jump to 5. Another one where it's kind of people are build up front, protect Joe Burrow, or get his guy from LSU and Jamar Chase. Who do you think they go with? Who would you go with?
I would go with, if it's between Sewell and Chase, I'd go with Penei Sewell. He's just, to me, the more difficult one to find. Not to say that, there's a ton of true number 1 wide receivers out there, but there's a reason like teams are making Trent Brown the highest paid offensive tackle in the NFL when he hits free agency, because so many teams are desperate for tackle play.
Yeah.
You draft Penei Sewell, your money. Like there's a reason why also like the wide receivers that hit the free agent mark this year are signing for like 10 mil, 13 mil, because people see them as somewhat replaceable and not necessarily that there's a lot of talent in the market right now at the wide receiver position. You can find a guy in the second round, like we saw last year with Chase Claypool. Like you can find a guy in the third round, like we saw the year before that with Terry McLaurin. Like it happens. I don't think you find Penei Sewell's in the second or third round is the thing there. So I think it ultimately is Chase though, because I think they got to make Joe Burrow happy. Like that's his guy. They're going to have to. Not a lot of people want to be in Cincinnati. I know. I fucking live in Cincinnati. Like not a lot of like you gotta sell a guy to be here. So I think they got to appease him at some point, especially after obviously tearing his ACL last year.
Yeah, what do you got to do to get old Collinsworth to move it out of Cincinnati and head somewhere a little bit better? Huh?
He screws us. So he has the company here in Cincinnati, and then every winter after the season ends, he spends like 3 months down in Florida and just lets us do our thing here in Cincinnati. And we're like, God damn it, Chris! Like just start the company in Florida in the first place. What the hell?
Or at least take you guys with them down there.
I know, yeah. Build a studio down there. Gladly, I'd move down for 3 months a year.
It'd be like the Rams with them setting up their draft war room out there at the beach house and everything like that. You guys get down in PFF and PFF in Florida, man. I like it. PFF Spring Breakers. That's what you should do. A week down there.
Warren Sharp does the spring break every year, right?
Yeah. Like that'd be good. Justin Fields, what is going to happen with this guy, man? Because all the past 2 years it's been Lawrence Fields, and then now per usual, every draft we see shit like this. It's like, well, Justin Fields could go number 3. Justin Fields could go, to 20. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't get this one. And I've talked to people within the league, and some of them don't understand it either. Like it's really just, I think one is like the wealth of talent that ended up coming up at the quarterback position this year was kind of, Zach Wilson rising up, Mac Jones rising up. 2, though, like the biggest thing to me is I just don't know how many quarterbacks who have that level of arm strength, that level of accuracy. Like you look at his tape, and he's very accurate with football, and run 4.43s that then fail in the NFL. Like that seems like you got a pretty high floor at that point. And yeah, the tape's not perfect this past year. Like you don't love what he did against Northwestern for sure. And he struggled against the blitz a lot, but those things can improve. You can't teach Mac Jones to run a 4.4. You can't teach Mac Jones to throw 65 yards. Like he does things that other guys can't. And I just think it gives you a pretty high floor with his physical tools.
Do you buy into Carolina if he's there at 8 for them to say, yeah, we just got Sam Darnold, but we're not going to pass on this guy?
I do, actually, because I think David Tepper, obviously the owner, analytically driven franchise to a degree here now, like realizing that, hey, if we don't have a quarterback, we're screwed anyway. So 8th overall pick's not going to be Kyle Pitts. It's not going to be someone that's really can change your franchise. There was really this like generational type of prospect. You're probably getting just a good player, but not a great player. At that point, take that swing on the quarterback because they don't lose value. We just saw They just traded a 2nd and a 4th for Sam Darnold, who was about the worst case scenario when you draft a guy that high. So you can flip that guy, even if Sam Darnold turns out to be great, you can flip that guy for picks next year, and it's not even a big deal.
Is this draft? I feel like this draft is compared to at least the last few or in recent memory. I feel like this draft is the most where we have these kind of discussions about guys like Justin Fields, Devontae Smith. Where do you go with Kyle Pitts? What do you do with Mac Jones? Do you feel like this draft is one of the most not controversial but debatable that we've had in the last few years?
Oh, for sure. The content coming out of this one has been the sort of fervor around it. I feel like has been so much more than years past because of the quarterbacks. Obviously, always an interesting debate because when there's guys at a similar tier, you're always going to kind of go back and forth on eye of the beholder, what you value more in a prospect. And then there are some legit, I feel like there's some legit rare guys in this class, like Kyle Pitts, like Penei Sewell, like even Jamar Chase and Devontae Smith to a degree, like a wide receiver winning the Heisman. There are rare dudes, but then there's a big drop off. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see in terms of like the certainty of these guys where you got probably a dozen guys that didn't even play last year that are going to be in this draft. They're going to be drafted in the first 4 rounds. So it's like, what do you do with those guys? Maybe they were going to suck this past year. Maybe they're going to be awesome this past year, and they took a massive step forward. We just didn't see it. So it is a lot of. I guess so this probably is the most debated draft I can remember since I started doing this.
Who will be the first defensive player taken, you think?
If I had a bet, I will say J.C. Horn, South Carolina cornerback. Bet he goes to either 10 to the Cowboys or maybe 12 to the Eagles, we'll say.
Okay, so over Surtain.
I think so. I just think teams are going to see him and what he does and like super physical and fall in love with that over Surtain's very, very high floor. Like he's already can play NFL cornerback tomorrow. He's very sound, but he's just not near the physical sort of bully that J.C. Horn is.
What we got to get? I need to know. Big Steelers guy. If you didn't know, 24.
Oh, I do.
You do.
Sadly.
What are we thinking, man? Are you thinking it's going to be chalk like everyone's saying with Najee Harris? Do they surprise with ETN? What do you think?
That would just blow my mind if they went running back. And really? Now it just would. I mean, after the whole Le'Veon Bell saga, and then James Conner being like serviceable, but like not failing to recognize that the reason all that kind of went downhill was you went from probably a top 5 offensive line in 2015, 2016, maybe into 2017. You lose Marcus Gilbert. You lose left guard, whose name's escaping me right now. Ramon Foster. You lose him. Castro's hurt. Alejandro Villanueva is getting old. Like that's the part that's taking this massive step back, not necessarily the running back position. And to then, maybe lose Alejandro Villanueva this offseason and really have just Zach Banner and Chukwuma Okorafor as your starters right now at tackle, and then to draft a running back and say, hey, good luck. Najee Harris going from the best offensive line in college football maybe in the past like 4 or 5 years to what he's going to have in Pittsburgh is going to be eye-opening. So I just think with this deep offensive line class, like they'd be crazy not to take advantage of it. But I don't know. We'll see. I do believe, though, that will be ultimately Najee Harris. I bet they do go with it because like it fits personality-wise with that organization. But damn, I'll believe it. I won't believe it until I see it.
But and that's fair, and I understand, and I agree with you on all fronts with the points made about the offensive line currently as it states in Pittsburgh. But couldn't it be said? Couldn't I be right to say at 24 taking the best overall running back, and then they have 2 more picks in the top 87, top 88 in the draft for the second and third round, and then you come back and you get best offensive lineman available with your second and third round pick? Like, doesn't that mathematically like even out to where you get the best overall running back, and then you get guys that can come in and will be solid players that will play, but you don't get the 5th or 6th best offensive lineman with your first overall pick. You know what I'm saying?
True. I will say, though, so the NFL is pretty good at scouting tackle talent, like offensive tackle at least, like guard, center, in terms of like where they draft them. Guys that go in the first round at tackle, they tend to be able to recognize those guys are the ones that end up succeeding. Like you can get some good players outside of the first round, but it is rare to find a high-level quality tackle outside of the first round. So if you're drafting the tackle in the 3rd round and then throwing him in as a starter year 1, vast majority of the time it's ugly. Like vast majority of the time, that's just not a guy. Like there's a reason why he falls to the 3rd round because he's not ready to play in the NFL. Yeah. So, and I think it's been shown that you can find, like Najee Harris, fantastic running back. Like I'm not going to debate that whatsoever. If given like a good opportunity to succeed, he will. But I just worry about the opportunity to succeed there if they are really throwing out, like I said, rookie or Zach Banner, Chukwuma Okorafor, or a rookie at one of the tackle positions.
But don't you think like if they did take the offensive lineman and then you wait until the 3rd or 4th round, then they're just getting another James Conner, another guy, just kind of a guy and not going to be dynamic enough?
That is true. I mean, like if you really want to upgrade the running back position, to me, there's 3 guys in this draft class. It's Najee Harris, Javonte Williams from North Carolina, Travis Etienne from Clemson. If you really want a guy that you feel good about being, like you said, dynamic at that position, those are the 3 I feel good about. After that, real crapshoot. But I will say, like, the reason they've fallen off is because, like, you need to prop up Ben Roethlisberger is the bigger thing with that offense right now. Like, he needs all the help he can get to get back to the Roethlisberger we saw 2016, 2017, because this is kind of like it. This is kind of like their one last hurrah with, if you just look at all their contracts and obviously Roethlisberger's situation. Like, after this, it could be bad after 2021 with just like how they are as a franchise. So whatever you got to do to make this year the best is probably what they're going to end up doing. Now, like I said, I think pass protection is the best way to make this year the best. But it's also like you said, though, relying on the fourth best tackle in the class, though, is also can be a fool's errand. Like, that guy might come in and not be ready either. So I can see both sides of the coin in that one.
Okay. Besides Najee Harris going to the Steelers, what's going to be the pick on Thursday that you're going to be like, holy shit, didn't see that one coming, whether it's a team trading up or just somebody kind of taking a flyer on a guy?
Yeah, I do wonder if someone makes like a massive play. Like, people are talking about the Cardinals trying to get up into the top 10 for like a wide receiver. And it's just like, whew, if that happens, I would be floored. I do think someone's going to fall in love with one of those top guys, though, after, like, there will be a move up for one of those weapons at the top, whether it's Waddle, Smith, Pitts, Chase, if one of them somewhat falls, because they are that good. But I do think that might be, like, usually you trade ups early on and reserve for quarterbacks, but I think this is the year one someone might move up for one of the players like that.
Okay. Who's the guy, last one for you, who's the guy that you're standing on the PFF board or war table for that you're like, nope, I don't really care what you say. Maybe this guy hasn't been talked about enough, but this is my fucking guy.
I'm going to go with Elijah Moore, not Rondale. Love Rondale. He's a hell of a player, but Elijah Moore, not a lot of guys. So the reason the knocks are obvious, 5'9", 178 pounds, but I think he can win. Like, I think he can win on the outside. And that's the worry you get with small guys, is them being able to hold up there. But he's so physical, so good in contested situations, obviously a freak athlete, like tested off the charts at his pro day, and was the second most productive receiver in the country this past year. Only really played from the slot, but I think he can play on the outside. And if he can, like, this guy reminds me a lot of Emmanuel Sanders, truly, like in the way he runs routes, the way he can get off line of scrimmage, and just kind of how tough he plays, despite, I mean, Emmanuel Sanders is like 185, 184, like really an undersized dude, but just, you never question his toughness. He almost got killed on the field against the Rams back in the day. So yeah, that's who I'd be standing on the table for.
Okay, I lied. You triggered the Rondale Moore in me. I'm a Purdue guy. Rondale Moore. What's the best fit for him? Where's he going?
Oh, best fit for him. I would love to see him on the Packers, honestly. Now, does he go in the first round? I don't know, but I think the Packers have a role for that in their offense.
Yeah.
What he brings to the table, just like pure speed, explosiveness, anything with the ball in his hands is just lights out. But I think he ends up slipping out of the first round. Teams just don't love small receivers. I don't blame them. It's the track record of guys really at that size is bad. And it's like I'd make the Nate Robinson sort of corollary. It's like Nate Robinson, an incredible dunker, freak athlete. He didn't catch a lot of alley-oops. Just because at that size, it's difficult. So that guy's not going to catch a lot of balls over the middle, jump balls, contested catches. It just gets tougher when you are at that size. So I do think he ends up going to the second round, but man, he's going to be an awesome NFL player. I don't really care where you play him at. He's going to be productive.
Love it. Mike, thanks so much for the time, man. You can follow him at PFF_Mike. He's got all the draft coverage that you need for Pro Football Focus. So, hey, man, I appreciate it. Good luck this week, and I'll be talking to you soon, all right?
Yeah, for sure, Joey. Hopefully next year's Combine. We'll see you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Talk to you. That's Mike Renner, my buddy, and does great work. You know, I give a shit to a lot of the PFF guys because sometimes they're just easy to give shit to. But I like Mike a lot. Good dude. Notre Dame guy. And obviously he knows what he's talking about. So that's what this week's going to be, man. Like, this is going to be we're going to have fun like we usually do. We're going to bullshit about different things, but this is draft week. Okay, you got to saddle up and we got to get ready for the draft because there's only one weekend of the year that it's like this. And so I know that I have some viewers and some listeners who I appreciate and who, they're not the biggest of sports fans, but they hang along anyways. But I know that I got a lot of folks who are in here who are, just diehards like me with the NFL draft and with the NFL. So this is a week that's going to be heavy on that. And then next week, we'll get back to, making fun of school teachers and stuff like that. A little bit of that this week. But this week, we're going to have a lot of Mike Renners on, and we're going to be hitting it hard because no other week like this week. From Charles, who's the guy in this draft you would hype up? Mine would be Liam Eichenberg. I'll always love Hog Mollies from Notre Dame. I mean, the offensive line like that's great. I'm cool with Justin Fields, man. Like, I like him a lot. People are shitting on him. I would love if the Steelers were somehow able to get him. The big Hog Mollies like that. I'd be cool with any of the Landon Dickersons, Tevin Jenkins, Najee Harris, anybody who's been rumored to the Steelers. I trust them, man. I like it. We typically draft very well, so I'm cool with that. That was Mike Renner, though. That'll be back up on my channel after the show, so you'll be able to watch that back and hear all the draft coverage or draft preview with him, which is a nice reminder to be sure to subscribe. YouTube.com/C/CupOfJoey. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to hit the subscribe button. You're already there, so do it. If you're watching on Twitter, go back and if you missed today's show, you missed that interview with Mike, go back and watch it on YouTube later and subscribe to the channel. So a lot of NFL draft talk. The Oscars happened last night. So finishing up what was on your feed this morning. Oscars happened last night. Best Picture went to Nomadland. Haven't seen it. Best Actor in a Leading Role, Anthony Hopkins in The Father. Haven't seen it. Best Actress, Frances McDormand and Nomadland. So haven't seen it. Maybe that's some homework that I can do. But the Lights, Camera, Barstool guys have you covered on that. So you go trust them, and I'll go watch. But just always nice to know for some water cooler talk. Oh, did you catch the Oscars last night? No, which one are you talking about? The Grouch? So Oscars, and then it just gives fodder for our different political TV channels and radio channels to talk about. It's like the Oscars are just there for like right-wing, conservative news shows to just be able to talk about like how much they hate Hollywood, and then it's just there for the people who are left-leaning to be able to talk about how much they love it. So that's all the Oscars are there for. Besides, if you're not a hardcore moviegoer, that's what it's there for. So you can expect a lot of that to be happening. All right, let's finish up with. Actually, first of all, I might as well. I want to play this here. My guy Nick Saban, love him, and he has some really good advice here that he did during an interview, and Albert Breer dropped it today. Let's see. He dropped it today, and I think it's really worth talking about. I think it's really worth hearing, and it's funny, So here we go. This is Nick Saban on red flags and how much it can affect a player.
Well, again, this goes back to players creating value for themselves. I always talk to players about, I spent 8 years in the NFL, so that means I sat through 8 drafts, which meant it's not just a draft. It's coach said he wouldn't piss on him if he was on fire. Who do you want on your team? And or but? All right, so what I tell players is you don't.
Whoops, that's my bad.
is and but.
Hold on.
Reports. So I'm talking about listening to 1,000 draft reports. And I tell our players all the time, the two most compelling words in the draft report is and but. Right, so they read the player, and I'll take a defensive back. Right, he's got quick feet, change of direction, got good long speed, can play man-to-man. He's a good tackler. He's got toughness, got really good ball judgment and really good ball skills. And he's a good person. He was a leader on the team. He graduated from school. Coaches loved him. Read the same player, but he had a positive drug test. He had a domestic violence incident with his girlfriend, got in a fight in a bar when he was a freshman. Strength coach said he wouldn't piss on him if he was on fire. Who do you want on your team? And or but? All right, so what I tell players is you don't realize that as soon as you apply for a job, as soon as you put your name in for the draft, people are looking for reasons not to pick you. They're looking for reasons not to hire you. So don't give anybody a reason to say but. It's the only way that you can create value for yourself. So read the same player, but he had a positive drug test.
I love this part.
He had a domestic violence incident with his girlfriend, got in a fight in a bar when he was a freshman. Strength coach said he wouldn't piss on him if he was on fire. Who do you want on your team? And or but.
Look how worked up he gets, man.
What I tell players
is
you don't realize that.
I love that so much, man. That was classic Saban right there. First of all, the analogies that he's using, it's a great point. And he goes into not only for somebody getting drafted, but for somebody who's getting a job. For somebody who is coming out of college and who is trying to get hired, for anybody who's trying to make an impression on somebody, are you an and person or a but person? Perfectly fine. He gets so worked up right there. Which one you going to draft? Which one you going to draft? I love that, man. So it's that's some nice shit here on Morning Joey for you guys. You going to be an and person or you going to be a but person? It's not like Seinfeld. It's like you're an ass man. Not like that. Are you an and person or a but person? Let's be and people. I'm bringing the energy today. I'm the football coach that is coming after your ass after 8 hours of day of classwork, and I'm bringing the energy. You gonna be an and person or a but person? Not you, Davis. I know you're an ass guy. Oh, shit, that's funny. Yeah, collections. That's what I'm talking about. Joey's draft week, baby. Here we go. Joey's draft week starting today. Rich Eisen behind me. Maybe I'll have Baby Yoda back there. I don't know. It's going to be a surprise, so you have to tune in every day to see what else is back there. I got Coach O, Joe Burrow, and Rich Eisen right there behind me. So, yes, Mike Renner joined today. Great draft preview. We're going to have it all week long. Don't forget Friday night, 7:30, going live. For a Steelers-centric draft show. We're going to have the Barstool draft show on Thursday, so be ready for that. But then on Friday, I'm going to have my Steelers folks out or my NFL draft folks who just want to hang out on Friday night and party it up with me. It's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to that. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe. All the merch, Barstool Indie merch, Cup of Joey merch, Juju One Last Ride t-shirt, all below to buy as well. So subscribe. Watch it on Twitter. Thank you so much. Come back on youtube.com/C/Cup of Joey. Be sure to hit the subscribe button there. Catch up on the latest from my channel as well. So until then, have a great Monday, and I'll talk to you tomorrow live at 9.